Welcome to today's workshop, Saturday, 21st of December. The theme we're going to talk today about is the house title, particularly dialogue, and two important parts of dialogue, attribution and action. So I'll keep this presentation very short. And then at the end of it, what we'll do is we're going to work together, Nick hand on your draft. Whether it's fiction or non-fiction, using dialogue is absolutely essential. And there's a very simple structure of dialogue. There are two parts that go into a dialogue. It's attribution and action. I'll explain shortly what each of those is, but it's the combination of the two that brings the dialogue alive. And those parts of dialogue, location is with the attribution of action, it could be before, in the middle, or after the dialogue itself. And what delivers a dialogue is the character, is narrator, either one or the other, or both of them, but also the way we use punctuation helps with the dialogue delivery. Two of the most important parts in the dialogue are attribution and action. Now, there tends to be a bit of confusion when it comes to what one is and the other is. So let's start with defining one and the other. An attribution basically is speech delivered in any outspoken vocal form. Anything that has to do with said, screamed, yelled, murmured, anything so long as it is spoken out loud in any form, we call it attribution. I've been trying to find another term to use for it, but I'm still struggling. We can call it speech. However, it is who delivers the speech and in what way, in what outspoken way. And there are two very simple examples. So you can start, he asked where you're off to, or you can have it at the end of the dialogue, which both of these examples are, the principle is the same. Now, when it comes to the action is anything related to, leading to, resulting from, associated, or connected with the dialogue, what's being said in that dialogue is an action. And the difference between one and the other is crucial to understand. So I've given a couple of examples again, and one of the, if you were to notice whether the first word after the dialogue begins with uppercase or lowercase, now that's the main difference, which I'm going to explain in a little bit. Understanding attribution and the action, understanding the difference between one and the other and their functions makes a massive difference to bringing your story alive. Whether we want it or not, we need to specify punctuation and quotation marks in a dialogue. And always the punctuation should be within the quotation marks. It doesn't matter how long or how short the dialogue is, it sits within the quotation marks. Now, what I've done with this example is that I did it in two ways. In one, the speech is the attribution is at the end, the other attribution is at the beginning. And look how it changes the uppercase versus lowercase. We're starting in the second example, we're starting a new example. So of course it starts by uppercase and we have comma. And quotation marks, double quotation marks or single quotation marks, they need to be curly. That's one of the most important parts. And this is where the difference between attribution and action becomes very, very clear, how we use quotation marks. When there's an attribution, we use any of comma, exclamation mark, or question mark, but we don't use full stop at the end of dialogue. And we begin the first word after the dialogue with lowercase. Yes, that's the example here. He asked, H is lowercase and shouted, S is lowercase. Now with the action is different. The action is not directly connected to who said what. Therefore, we can end up the dialogue with full stop, exclamation mark, question mark, or three dots, but not or a full stop, but not with a comma. And we always begin the word after the dialogue, the first word, with uppercase. And hence the examples. If here, I think this man is needed. If we had the combination, which I'm going to explain shortly, the woman saved the woman and keep pointing the gun at me, then it would start with a lowercase. So if we use attribution before the dialogue line, we end with a comma. But if we use an action before the dialogue, we end it with full stop. In both cases, the dialogue within the quotation marks always begins with uppercase, the first word. And often with what we find is a combination of action and attribution. And when that happens, whether we use it or we see it, the best thing to do is to apply the attribution sentence rule. So where are you off to? He asked, his heart pounding. So it's because he's asked. And I'm not going anywhere. I said my heart pounding is because I've put it in the middle. Then the first dialogue ends with a comma, and then the rest is normal as the attribution rule. Now someone is coming, and great. So when it comes to location, that's another very, very important element to refine, to sharpen. Attribution or action related to a dialogue, to a line of dialogue or more than a line of dialogue, should sit always in the same paragraph. It doesn't matter if the attribution or action be at the beginning or after the dialogue. We should have them in separate paragraphs. So it makes it easier for the reader to understand who has said what happened, within one dialogue, and then when the other person speaks, then it makes it easier to understand who's saying what and when. And also it does help the reader focus and visualize one piece or scene or interaction at a time. And the two examples, I hope they do illustrate the principle. It does take a little bit of time to get used to the idea of how to use dialogue and combine action and attribution. And the last thing is, I call this narrator's secret weapon, because you chunk the dialogue yourself and you put in between the dialogue, say, I said, or I stopped, or to allow the reader's brain a little bit more time to absorb what has been said and prepare for what's going to be said a bit further on. And I've given 3 examples here. In the first 2, I mean, it's the same. The difference is we have a full stop after frightened, and that does allow the brain a little bit more to take the information in. And this one, the third one, I suppose, ask the old lady there, shiny leather. So no one can make that decision but you, the author, when it comes to chunking the dialogue and placing something to do with what's said or what action has resulted, to make it easier for the reader to absorb it. And that's the presentation for today when it comes to attribution and action. Any questions, Nikan? Can't hear you.
Sorry, I muted myself because the dogs were barking.
Mm.
I said that was already clear and made sense. Thank you.
Okay. So then the best thing to do for us is let's share the screen and let's go through the draft. And anywhere we see anything to do with action, attribution, punctuation in a dialogue, and then we illustrate the principle in your draft. So let's keep things simple.
All right, so this is like the tail end of the chapter, so it kind of is like coming
It's
in
no, it
in the
seems
middle.
fine. So what we need to do is, so when you're ready, how do you want to do it?
Do you want to read it? I know you were going to ask somebody else to read it. I don't know.
I can read it out if you wanted me.
Yeah,
Oh.
or I'm just conscious that people are going to be watching, and if we're silent reading, they're just going to be sitting here in silence. It's up to you, whatever there's the best way to do it.
Okay.
Otherwise we can just pull out like the
Mm.
so there's this part where I kind of
Oh, yeah.
middle.
So, okay. Yeah. So basically, do you want to, how do you want to do you want to,
Yeah, but this one isn't too traumatic. I don't want to read my book out loud because, you know, it's kind of
do you want me to
silly
read that?
and
Do
I
you
don't
want me to
trust
read it or
myself.
do you want us,
I don't
do you want
trust
me to read
myself
that
not to
loud?
cry. I can read it actually because this section isn't too this section of the book isn't too dramatic. So I tried to write something that wasn't too traumatic so I didn't upset other people on the call. So
Yeah,
you
but
want me to read
what?
through the whole thing?
Oh, why not? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I missed work the next day because I was being interviewed repeatedly by the police. They offered to set me up with counseling, but I said no. We finished late in the afternoon, and my friend Heather drove me to my parents' house. My dad and I worked at the same company, so he knew I had missed work that day. My mother assumed that I was hungover and my mother assumed I had a hangover and decided to sleep it off at a friend's house. When I got home, my dad looked ready to make a teasing comment about missing work, but one look at me told him something was seriously wrong. Heather told them I had spent the day at the police station because I had been raped the night before. My mother said I was raped when I was your age, and off she went, crying and telling the story of her rape. She never asked if I was injured, what happened, or if I was okay. This was now my mother's show, and I was an audience member.
Actually, that's the place where we split the paragraph because it's the
So where
yeah.
she never asked becomes a new paragraph?
Now my mother said, so we
Oh, where
split
it
it.
says my mother
Yeah,
said.
my mother said, perfect. You see, and then another thing to consider is, and that's something that we need to strike a balance because so my mother said I was raped when I was your age, and off she went, crying and telling the story of her rape. Okay, that's the dialogue and the attribution and the action related to it. So I think she never asked she never asked me, maybe that could be in a new paragraph. They can stand together. So there's but I think yeah, she never asked me, you mean asked me?
Yeah.
Yeah, never asked me if I was injured, what happened. And maybe what happens should be because it's got to be natural order of things, what we do, what we ask. And could be she never asked me what happened, whether if I was injured or if I was okay. No, that's okay. Because if you say she never asked me what happened, if I was injured, yeah, or if I was okay, and I was, or if I was okay, that's better. This was now mother's show, and I was an audience member. And in the dialogue above, and off she went, crying and telling the story of her rape. Who was she telling the story to?
My dad, so Heather and my dad and me were in the room with
Hmm.
her. It was the four of
Yeah,
us.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, so, and since we're at it, yeah, then yeah, that's fine. That's good. Heather told him I'd spend the day at the police station because they raped her. Yeah, something that was seriously great. Okay, so let's carry on then. But
Okay. 6 months later, the case went to trial. Although he had admitted assaulting me, I guess I should explain who he is.
yeah, yeah. Great.
Although my attacker had admitted assaulting me, he said the sex was consensual. The DA had decided not to go with assault charges and just prosecute for the rape. Specify who he is. The DA.
Yeah, that's it
Later,
simplifies.
told me later that he did not want the jury to take the easy option of only convicting on the assault, so he decided not to put that option out there. The trial lasted a couple of days. All my friends had to testify.
One moment,
Judge
please. One moment.
Yeah.
You said take the easy option of only of convicting for the assault only, or only convict for the assault,
Yeah.
for the assault only, for the assault only, convict for the assault only, and then remove only before convicting. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. The trial lasted
Okay.
a couple of days. Almost said hard to testify. Great.
All right. The judge gave his closing statements to the jury and said, if every man stopped the first time a woman said no, the world would be a much less exciting place. So this should be those ones, right? Because it's a quote within a
Go for
quote.
double ones. Yeah, yeah. No, you know, you're right. Actually, it's in single ones. Yeah. No, it's brilliant use of both attribution and action, because the judge gave his closing statement, which is an accident, to the jury and said, that's brilliant. And you see how good you did. You did single quotation marks around no, and that's good. Yeah, perfect.
That statement got rape crisis advocates up in arms all over the world. It was international news, and suddenly I was the most wanted person in the country as far as the media was concerned. My rapist was acquitted on the grounds of temporary insanity and allowed to go free, while I went into hiding to escape the media frenzy. After several days of hiding from the media and rape crisis groups, the detective suggested it might be a good idea to talk to them in a controlled environment. He named 2 specific reporters he suggested I speak to. I agreed. This was my 15 minutes of fame. The girl whose rapist was acquitted based on the controversial closing arguments of a judge. During the interview, clarify. During the interview with the reporters, I was asked if I would go through it again, knowing the outcome would be against me. So I guess I need to explain what.
Yeah, go through it. But so it's the trial we're talking about, not the event. Yeah.
Asked if I would go through the trial again, knowing the outcome would be against me. I said, no, if I were ever raped again, I would not involve the police. I would not put myself through the ordeal of medical examination or cross-examination during trial. It's not worth it. So
One
should that be a
question.
new
Yeah,
paragraph?
yeah, exactly. Because that's separate to during the interview. It's, you know, I said
I did.
no. Oh, what you can do is no, comma, I said, and then so you could put that I said, and then double quotation marks. Perfect. You see, in fact, what I would do is have comma and comma after said, and have I lowercase of if, because that's where only you, the author, can make that decision. If I were ripped again, then I would not involve the police. Maybe have a full stop after the police, because it gives you a bit more time for the reader's brain to take it in. Cross-examination, ordeal. I would not put myself through the ordeal of medical examination or cross-examination. You don't need to have during the trial, because it would be a trial, so you don't need that. It's not worth it. Perfect. Great.
All right. I did not know it when those words came out of my mouth, but I just made myself a target for future rapes. 18 months later, I was gang raped in my bed by friends of a friend that I had been out drinking with. 2 years after that, I was attacked and raped by a stranger in my garage. I did not report either event to the police and told no one about.
Yeah,
told no one
perfect.
about it. I already knew that talking about these things would not achieve anything positive. Although it has been almost 30 years, the judge's quote will still appear in the search results if you Google it today. On the 20th anniversary of my rape, I did Google it, and I found an article about the judge who made the statement. The article was written about his death, but referred to his statement at my trial. The judge had told the reporter what he said that day haunted him for years. He wished he could take it back, but it could not be undone once it was said. I am skeptical that the regret was for anyone other than himself, as it resulted in a censure for him. But I felt a little healing at reading that. Knowing that he regretted what he said gave me a bit of closure.
One moment. When it comes to the 20th anniversary, it's better to have the TH, not those so small, but have it 20th, yeah. Yeah, no, what you'll do is it's just have a, yeah, TH and then that's perfect. It's easy to say 20th anniversary, you know, I did Google it. You don't need a comma after rape. On the 20th, maybe you do. I did Google it, and I did Google it. You don't need the comma after it. And I found an article about the great, you know, step on my drive. Yeah, I did Google it. That's better. Way, way, way better. Yeah, you wish you could take it back, but could not be undone.
Getting there. I'm getting better at this.
Oh, it's very good. No, it's really.
It's only taken me 12 chapters to figure it out.
You wish you could take it back, but it couldn't all be. Maybe, what if you left that? You wish you could take it back, but nothing, but could, yeah. Yeah, because that's, yeah.
That.
And that makes it, yeah, it makes it even better. Yeah. Yeah, great. Next one.
Okay. 2 weeks after the trial, I returned to work and my boss called me into his office. The reporters had used voice distortion and had me behind a screen when I was interviewed on television so that I could not be identified. But my boss said there was something in the way I laughed during the interview that made him think it was me. I know that's a really long sentence and I need to break it up.
Yeah, so new paragraph. However, you don't even need however, my boss said there was something in the way I laughed in the interview that made him think. You're missing that interview. That made him. The way I loved doing this with that. Yeah, that's important. That made him think it was me. He asked me if it was. He asked me if it was me. Okay, great. And I said yes. He asked me if it was me. Full stop. I said yes. Yeah, I said yes.
Do I need to like quotation mark that?
Yeah, I said yes. He told me he thought it was best. Oh, according to him, you know, he thought he told you, yeah. Whether you do you need that? He told me he thought it was based the agency not to be associated. It was based for the agency not to be associated. That the agency not to be associated with such contentious issue. And asked me to resign. Asked me, yeah, to resign. Yeah, asked me to resign. Asked me to resign, yeah. And asked that I resign. It's more direct, simpler. Mm, yeah. I'm behind the screen when I was interviewed on TV, so I could not be identified. Perfect. Great. Okay, when you're ready, next one.
All right, I lost the trial, my privacy, and then my job. Where's nowhere to go and no one can, I moved back to my parents' house in the country.
Mm. Did you say contentious issue? Contentious.
Contentious.
Yeah. Contentious.
Government departments don't like
Mm.
contentious issues.
Great.
That's it, that's why, that's the end of the chapter.
That was it. Okay. So let's go yeah, the first paragraph needs work the next day because it was been to be prepared. Is it better to say they offered me counseling, but I said no?
Yeah,
They offered counseling, but I said no.
I could just say I declined.
I declined, yeah, which is you decline. And you don't need to call me after the afternoon. We'll finish late in the afternoon, and my friend now here, you need my friend Heather. Possibly have comas around Heather, my friend.
Yeah, I thought so
Heather.
too.
Yeah, it's my friend Heather drove me to my parents' house. So he knew I missed work. I had missed work that day. Okay, great. Decided. When I got home, my dad was ready, looked ready. Was wanted to make, was looking, looked ready, was ready to make teasing comment about missing work, was about to make, but one look at me, as soon as he looked at me, told him something was seriously wrong. Yeah, Heather, okay, explained basically. Heather explained I'd spent the day at the station because I'd been raped the night before. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so then 6 months later, the case went to trial. Although my attacker had admitted assaulting me, I don't think he had. He admitted assaulting me. He said the sex was consensual. He claimed, he maintained, he said, he claimed.
What I claimed.
Yeah, he claimed the sex was consensual because that's and
He alleged.
prosecute just for the rape, only for the rape. Yeah, for the rape only, and prosecute for the rape. So and prosecute, yeah, for the rape only. Yeah. And what you can do is later, comma, you can start later. The DA told me that he did not want the jury to take the easy option of convicting for assault. So, and you say so he decided not to put that option out there. So he did not put the option out. So he did not put that option out there. That's even a bit more of a decision. So he did not put that option out there. The trial lasted a couple of days. All my friends had to testify. It's way better actually the way you put it together. It's clean, and you're making it even better right now. Yeah. The first time a woman said no, the world would be much less exciting. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Right. So it's very good actually. Yeah. Have you seen anything else?
No, I think that's good. So generally, I think, so as I go through the rest of the chapters, we're focusing on the quotations. So anytime I do something that has a quotation in a sentence, it needs to be in a paragraph. Is that the general rule?
Say it again.
Um, anytime I have a sentence that has a direct quote in it, does it need to be a new paragraph? Is that the general kind of rule of thumb with formatting?
Yes, it's well, you can approach it as a rule of thumb, but it's very set actually, because anytime we have a dialogue in the text, in the content, anything. So the first thing to consider is create a new paragraph, and then decide which part of the attribution and action is related to that dialogue, and have them in the same paragraph. So once you get the hang of it, it becomes quite pleasant actually. But it's making sure that where to split those paragraphs, so the reader
Yeah.
knows who said what,
So,
and then
like for
there's a difference
example,
here.
I
Yeah.
haven't edited this one in terms of
Okay.
like dialogue yet, but I see like right in the first paragraph, right, I have this direct.
Yeah,
So it fits,
exactly.
it
I
fits
said,
with
yeah,
the
perfect. Yeah,
everything,
that's
right?
really good.
And
So,
then
and new
Pedro
paragraph,
started
Pedro
laughing is
started
the
laughing.
action connected to
Yeah,
the
so
dialogue,
then,
so it stays with it.
so Pedro started laughing should be a new paragraph.
Oh, that would be the new paragraph there. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I want to make sure I understand this before I go
yeah,
through and
yeah,
do
yeah,
the rest
yeah.
of the book.
Yeah,
So
that's
I
fine.
can
And then,
get it
yeah,
right.
perfect. That's great. Hey, Jerk, yeah, would you? And another thing I picked up because of quotation marks, the saying, the quote you have by the anonymous, it's got straight
Oh yeah,
quotation,
I
double
took all this
quotation mark.
out. This is a
Yeah, yeah.
unfiltered
So
version. I did
is a
that for an
quotation
old
marks. Yeah.
file.
Mm.
Just want to make sure I understand
Yeah, that's
the
fine. So
rules
then,
around
so
getting
yeah,
this
actually,
right.
let's look through it. So now, in that paragraph, stop. Go a bit further up. Stay there.
Oh, it's huge.
Now that paragraph, you have the cursor in, is quite long. Seems to be.
Yeah,
If there's any point, Pedro and I talked on the phone every day after that. If there's any spot, we can split that paragraph into two small, shorter ones. Then we should consider it. Mm. Years later, actually, years later. That's where you
yeah,
could split it. So it's almost half, yeah, years later, because it's a lapse in time and that, but still
yeah,
related to, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So let's see. You have
Let's see. So like
there's
here,
yeah, that's one perfect. The minute I walk through the door, it's supposed to, yeah, exactly.
so this would
Now,
be a new,
yeah, Yeah, and then I burst into tears and told her, what was I going to do? Yeah, that's fine. That's really good. Had
Okay.
financed the
I
car.
think yeah, this is an old one. It's
Mm.
I made the paragraphs much shorter than these are.
It does. No, yeah,
And
it
I
does.
edited last time.
It's very
I
good,
just
actually. You've done
really
very,
want to
very
make sure
well.
I understand.
You've done very well. It's really, really good.
Awesome. Thank you. That's gonna like practicing it in real time like this helps it like solidify in my head so I can go through the rest of
It's so
it.
useful, and it's so good to do that on the page where we go back and forth, because it's they're all visual elements. So
Yeah.
splitting the dialogue into paragraphs with action and attribution, how we use, where we use quotation marks and punctuation. They're all visual elements, but they make a massive difference, and they do split the content to smaller parts. Sometimes, and we discussed this before, I will come back to this as well. Sometimes when you have text and explain something, it's good, when possible, to phrase it as a dialogue. Because then what happens is there's a difference between the narrator and the character. So what the character says is not what the writer says. It's an amazing thing doing this. So, and sometimes if there's a long paragraph and you want to split it, instead of splitting into parts, what you might do is introduce a dialogue, a part of a dialogue. Then by default, you're going to split it anyway. It's quite something, and it
Yeah,
makes
that's a really good
a
trick.
difference to the reader, massive difference to the reader. Okay, well, you've done a very, very good job with that chapter.
Thanks.
And you see, when you go back to it and you see it with a fresher eye, then you see, okay, that can stay, that can go. Well then, very, very
Yeah,
good.
I haven't had time in the past kind of 6 weeks to look at the book at all. So I'm kind of 6 weeks stepped away without consciously meaning to be. But I think that's going to help. I have a couple of days off work next week and just changing my last paper for college for the year. So I don't have any college papers due now until January. So I've got like a little bit more mental capacity now to start like focusing on my book again, which will be good. I'll be able to sit down and read through it and apply the dialogue formatting and check the paragraphs and stuff again.
Okay, fair enough. Great. Well, what I suggest us to do is to leave it at this, because actually I quite enjoyed this the session. It's quite good.
Awesome.
And we went through we went through the chapter. So okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to post the recording tomorrow, maximum by Monday. I'm going to check when the next workshop falls. I think it's the 2nd of January, and I'm not sure people might be ready, so possibly go for another.
It'll be the 4th is a Saturday.
So the 2nd.
Second is a Thursday, I think.
Yeah, so
Second is a Thursday. 4th is a Saturday.
yeah, so okay. So I'll choose a topic as well for that one, and then we can. Yeah, great.
Great.
Okay, Nikan, and I'll wait to hear from you as far as the draft is concerned. And
yeah, I will work on it again next week, and then set up a time for us to meet and go through it.
Great. Perfect. Okay. So then we'll carry on with these workshops as usual. And yeah. Great. Okay, Nikan, it's been an absolute delight.
Thank you. Have a great
Enjoy the rest of the
Christmas.
year. Have a great Christmas and New Year, and I'll see you in the next year. In the new year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
Take care.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Bye.